Oh, just kidding.
Welcome to another exciting episode of KoffinRadio. I am Heartthrob Rob, and joining me today is the one, the only, Brandan, lead singer of BleedingThrough. Brandan, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. Got you at Rise Above. Ending a work day. We get to talk about music. That's fucking beautiful. Hopefully it's all about music. Maybe not all about music.
Well, dude, I'm super excited because, I've been a fan for forever, so for 20 years. Thanks, I know we're only just a few years apart, but, your music really shaped my high school years. You know what I mean? So to now be in your Mecca, your hometown, doing your thing, you know what I mean? I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
But, man, it's crazy because BleedingThrough is on their 9th studio album that's coming out, aptly titled 9. It's actually coming out February 14th, Valentine's Day, just right around the corner. You released the new single, Path of Our Disease. Can you tell us more about the song and the album?
Yeah, dude. Really, the record's called 9 because I wish I had a better answer, but really it's because it's our 9th record. And I like the way that 9 looks when you write it. But more to that, it's I know a lot of people see like maybe like a 10th record as like, given like pay homage to it or whatever, make it more like a center focus or whatever. But we never thought we would do another full length. So the fact that like it's still kind of doing this and we're putting a new record out and we're so proud of it. So we wanted to mark this record as like probably the one record that we're the most proud to actually do. Well, it really means a lot to us. And like, the songs that we've like released that are going to be on the record so far, I think show it on like, show the band and like, shows growth. It shows loyalty to our sound. It shows loyalty to our fan base, which I think is really important. That I think one of the things that irritates me the most about bands is when they say they write music for themselves. That's great. But like, your fans that support you, like, are you. That to me, our fans are us. And so the record was, how do we grow? This is how we naturally kind of grow, but something that like our fans will get behind and the people that have been supporting us for so long get behind. We don't want to like, we were never that band that took the bait to try to be a rock and roll band. We stayed our fucking selves, and this record is so that. But still, like I said, there's growth, but there's a fucking darkness about this record, man. It's crazy. Like, as a band, we're probably the most happy that we've ever been, but we're writing like the most dark stuff we've ever written.
Absolutely. There's some evil stuff on there, man. It's pretty crazy. And you've had a long time to perfect your sound and do growth and build up this fan base. As you know, BleedingThrough has now been a band for over 25 years.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It blows my last century. You guys were, a band. It's crazy because, you guys started off. What was that hardcore scene like? The Orange County hardcore scene like 25 years ago? Because at the time, it's you guys BleedingThrough.
Yeah.
At the same time, you also have Atreyu, Avenged Sevenfold, 18 Visions, Throwdown, all coming together. Mm-hmm. Did you know at this time that it was going to be special? These are all ginormous bands, and you guys are all just this little scene at the time.
When I first got into like hardcore in the area, like in Orange County, it was a lot of like church shows. Spirit-filled hardcore is what they called it back in the day. And that was like the more dominant hardcore. And then you had a lot of more rad Orange County bands with labels like New Age Records and like Revelation that were really, focused on like the area. So many great bands and stuff. And you saw kind of like I was really into that kind of stuff as well. Like bands like Function and fucking Chorus of Disapproval and Ignite is one of my favorite bands of all time. Like, so a lot of really cool bands, and I'm probably missing a whole bunch. That Mean Season I really loved. Black Spot was a band. There was really cool bands.
Outcast.
But what's that?
Outcast.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Dude. Like, there was really cool bands, and then it was like, but the one thing that I felt was missing from Orange County was like a darkness of sorts. So emotionally, there was nothing that really gripped until I saw 18 Visions the first time. You know what I mean? Like, I saw 18 Visions and I saw them at this like this place called Side by Side. And it was like I think it was their first show. And I remember watching it and be like, there's just something so fucking dark about this that's like calling to me. But that was such like a total separate area of where like the hardcore scene was at the time. And I remember like the band that kind of bridged that gap before I even like joined 18 Visions was Adamantium. Like, Adamantium was the band that I felt brought a metallic element to hardcore in Orange County. It was very like kind of progressive like metal, basically bringing that like early metalcore sound, and that kind of allowed bands like 18 Visions to kind of follow a little bit. And we were kind of like with Adamantium in our journey, but 18 Visions was always like super super dark, and so the scene was small. It was kind of like the downside of like hardcore scene. So local bands were small, and then what really I felt like brought up the unity within like our communities in Orange County and even outside LA, Inland Empire, was Throwdown. Throwdown did it. Throwdown just brought it all together. And because a lot of like the members shared, a lot of bands shared members, all these bands were playing together and the shows just got bigger. And we felt it like, it was like a volcano. We just knew that this was something, And then that wave after that was like the Bleeding Throughs, the Avenged Sevenfolds, the Atreus that kind of followed. But really, I kind of credit what we kind of have now in Orange County, such a strong hardcore like metal scene, is bands like 18 Visions, Throwdown, and Adamantium. You know what I mean? Those were bands that like I really feel like shaped and built what we have here.
Absolutely, and that was really cool because you guys actually played with Adamantium at that.
Yeah, that was cool, man.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah. That was a really good show.
Yeah, that was the one and only time that Bleeding Through ever played with them, so that's really cool.
How crazy was that? Well, I mean, it's a crazy time, back in that era because, you guys you put together your first album, but I really feel like the masterpiece that is the second album, Portrait of a Goddess. Mm-hmm. That's what really got me into you guys. That's when I really got into hardcore and stuff like that. What was it like? What were your inspirations when you were crafting that album? I mean, it's such a Orange County staple now.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. We really thought when we did the Dust to Ashes release that like people weren't going to like it. It was kind of the opposite. I think people were just ready for that kind of progression, something new, something that wasn't really done anywhere else, something that we could kind of like have as our own. And I really wanted to combine like black metal with like hardcore. Crazy. So I'm like, okay, like keyboards, yes. Whether I think we were doing it well, that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like the piece was there and it was visually different, and the songs were different. So, but then it just got. I think what it was it was delivered in such a way that was such like a. Whereas black metal is very cold, like it's because it's written in the mountains and snow. And fucking, you know what I mean? But like the kind of elements that we were using were very like emotional and passionate. And I think that was something that drove people in the hardcore scene as they cling to the music because they had like an emotional kind of connection to it. Like for me, it was like, I could relate to the things that they were like singing about. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that the lyrics, the message, the vibe of our band, and just the sound was just like we got it. It was just the right place, right time.
It really hit, man. It was a crazy time. That was 2002, and it was definitely one of my favorite albums. Thank for you. Sure. And the hits really keep on coming for you guys. As in 2003, you released "This Is Love, This Is Murderous." Yeah. And at this point, now the metalcore scene is blowing up. Everything is going crazy, and you guys are really at the forefront of that. What were your memories like from that era to go from these smaller positive hardcore band things or positive message, and all of a sudden now the scene is exploding. You guys are on MTV2 and Uranium or whatever channels. What was that like?
That was wild, man, because it's like
you're still a youngster. Like, we were back then, I'm like, bro, how old are you? 22, 23 maybe at the time?
Dude, I'm like 23.
Yeah.
Shit's going on.
A child.
Walking into MTV to do Headbangers Ball, and I walk, like, right past Rachel Lee Cook, and I'm like, dude, the girl from She's All That. I'm like, oh, dude, what's up, girl? But, yeah, dude, it was really strange, and I think it was a crazy time to be a part of something because it was like, here's this new type of music, this new genre that is being accepted by more mainstream, you know what I mean? And getting more publicity. And I'm like, well, it just kind of makes sense. It's like, it's time for like this type of music right now. You know what I mean? But to be a part of it and like the first like Headbangers Ball episodes and Ozfest and to see the growth and like every day we would wake up and it'd be like something new was happening. It was like the most exciting thing. Like, waking up knowing that like fuck, like this magazine wants to do an interview with us, like that's never happened. We're doing a interview with Spin, like that's nuts. Like Rolling Stone saying we were like one of the best records of like a certain time frame, like that's weird. Like when I started Bleeding Through, I was like, this is gonna be like just like a different thing from like doing throw down in 18 Visions. Like, I'm just going to do this band as like a pleasure project. And then it was like, it just went. It just went. And it was like every day I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? So it was all a surprise. Very honored to be part of like that whole process of like the pioneering days of like what metalcore is. You know what I mean?
Legendary stuff, man.
Thanks, dude.
And I mean, you were bringing it up. I mean, because in 2005, you guys dropped The Truth, and it sells 17,000 units in its first week, hitting numbers. Go ahead.
Keep going.
Hitting 48 on the charts. That's huge, dude.
It was, and what's crazy is they thought that was a failure.
Bro, yes. That's like ginormous numbers even now. People don't sell physical copies.
Especially now.
Physical copies.
Bro, if you're selling 17,000 physical copies now, you are
God.
You're probably streaming. You're probably streaming over 20 million a month.
Yeah, I was gonna say 20 million. You know what I mean? Yeah, huge.
So it's like, but back then I remember like the projections, like, you know, we think that Bleeding Through is going to sell 25,000, and I remember like that was the beginning of a really weird dark time for this band. All of a sudden we went from like this champion band where it was like, all right, Bleeding Through, come on. And now it was all of a sudden like, oh, you didn't hit this mark? Well, now you're a fucking failure. And that's how we were treated. And I think that's just a product of this, how sweepingly fast it got, the scene got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then it was just like this major dick measuring contest all the time. It's like bands didn't support each other anymore. I couldn't just call a fucking friend and be like, yo, you want to do a tour? No, you have to go through management to label, even to fucking booking agent. And if it worked out where it would like looked right for them and it's like so many different elements. Now it's a fucking impossibility. Now it's like, if you have thin skin in this fucking industry now, like forget it. You can't even be in it. It was a weird time, but that record we're very proud of that record. It's my least favorite record. Not song-wise, recording-wise, because of lots of weird shit that happened. It took a long time to record. Our producer got like really sick and we had to take like 6 months off from recording, go back to it, and it just wasn't properly cared for. So I can't wait for next year. It's 20 years of that record, and I think we're just going to redo the whole fucking record.
Yeah.
I think we're just going to redo it because I feel like we did a couple songs off that This Is Love, This Is Murderous, but The Truth is the record that needs it. Because if you hear those songs live, you're like, these are the raddest songs. But you hear it on the record, just leave something to be desired.
And plus, you've got, like you said, it's 20-year anniversary. You've got 20 years to look back at it and be like, oh, you know what? A little bit more of that.
Yeah.
You could have done this, tweak this, put that in the back instead of the front.
Yeah.
And now you can, with 2020 vision, you're able to take a look at that.
That was a weird time for us, though, because it was like, we really saw what we were made of. Because it was, like, to me, it was a triumph to sell that many records. And the tours we did off that and the numbers that we were pulling on a nightly basis. I wish I could have like gone back in time now and just embraced it instead of feeling like it's not good enough for somebody. Instead of like, it's good enough for these people. That's all that fucking matters. All I was caring about was, and that was just like a personal issue that I had. All I was caring about was the people that weren't satisfied by it and how I could satisfy them. Like they gave a fucking shit. You know what I mean? Like they didn't. So yeah.
Crazy.
That's that.
Crazy, man. Well, I mean, that brings us to you guys, your guys' fifth album, Declaration, in 2008. And, you said it's trying times. Things are going a little bit different. And at the time, you guys are actually having,
label disputes
with Trustkill. Has that all been smoothed over? Is that water under the bridge, or how does that work?
Who knows, like, what the actual facts are of, like, who was owed what accounting was, billing. Here's the deal. I fault everybody in play here. The reason why bands weren't getting paid was because these labels were all of a sudden overnight making so much money and they didn't know what fucking accounting was. Some of these labels weren't even like registered as like businesses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're fucking kids like us that were like, fuck, I got $5,000 I could put out a record. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden they're making, This Is All This Is Murderous. Our budget for that was $15,000. We sold fucking almost 300,000 copies.
Yeah.
We didn't see a royalty off that once.
Like you haven't recouped yet, you know what I mean?
No, come on. And the truth was even like $50,000 budget, which is still nothing, and that sold like close to 300. It's like worldwide, and the amount of licensing deals that both those records did, and we were just. I don't fault Trustkill. they were growing at such a crazy rate. Money was a catastrophe everywhere with every label. Nobody was happy with it. The thing is, all the major being on a major label was probably more beneficial. Like Avenged Sevenfold going to Warner Brothers while we were like, no, we're gonna stay on an independent. Fuck, that fucked us. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, so, but it was just the growth, and then it was the fallout, and then it was these labels having to deal with streaming all of a sudden and not knowing how to fucking do it. And so shit was a shit show. It's better just to be like, instead of holding grudges for the rest of your fucking life, it's better just to be like, what's the fucking point? Josh reached out and goes, yo, it's 20 years of this record. Let's do some fucking records. You know, here's what we'll split, our split will be. Let me try to like make amends for whatever the fuck. Cool, let's do it. I'm not in the business of drama. I don't got time for that.
Yeah.
I hate it.
You guys made history. It's 20 years ago. Water under the bridge now. Who gives a fuck? You got bigger problems, dude.
Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares?
That's a good way to think
Well,
about
and it's also like one of these things too, like, we're not stupid. Trustkill was a big reason why we became what we were, whatever the fuck. Like, we don't discredit the hard work that they put into it. You know what I mean? It like, people were like, you should get your masters back. And for why? Like, releasing those records on any other label other than Trustkill would just be fucking weird. To me, it'd be weird. It'd be weird, you know? Yeah. Declaration was like, we were having those issues. We were not getting, like, we were owed a certain amount for the record. We did not get that on time. We had to fund that record ourselves in Canada, of all places. So we were in already with like on a deficit. And that was a weird time because the expectation for us coming off the truth was BleedingThrough was going to be the next band. We'll talk about this in a second. But like, BleedingThrough was going to be the next band to start writing radio hits and sign no major label. And we're like, fuck no, we're not. And everybody kept asking us that. Is this the record where? And I'm like, I'm so sick of that. Let's write like a prog black metal record. Like, and that's what we kind of did, you know? And we put that out, and I remember that being the biggest shock record for people because I remember playing it for friends, and they're like, this isn't anything I expected it to be. I think people thought we were going to try to follow suit with Avenged. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It seemed like everybody in our area was sort of doing that, but that's just not us, you know?
You guys are your own man, your own band, dude.
Yeah, dude.
That's and like you said, you know, in 2010, you guys start getting distribution through Rise Records. You start leaning into this darker sound, into this harder sound. You start actually working with Zeus, the producer, and I actually love that album, the self-titled one. You know what I mean? How do you feel about the sound on that album?
It's unique. It's a little clean. It's like almost like too perfect and precise, where I kind of feel like it loses a little bit of the rawness of what BleedingThrough is kind of known for. That's the one record I feel is just a little bit too polished. But I'll go back and listen to that record, and I'm like, it's fucking awesome. It has its own vibe, and Zeus is the fucking greatest. That was just a weird time for BleedingThrough. We were like not so a band at that point. Like we were like dealing with some personal issues with ourselves and with each other. I didn't even go for the first 3 weeks of recording because certain people did not want to be around each other. So I was there for like 5 weeks at the end of it by myself in Massachusetts. So I think because we split the dynamic up, it created a different like sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that you guys not being a cohesive unit, I think kind of really shows itself after you drop The Great Fire when that comes out in 2012. You guys finished some tours, but you know, after that, all the members of BleedingThrough kind of go their separate ways. You know, that's kind of it for at that time for a little while. What did you do with your time off, and what did you miss most about BleedingThrough?
I mean, I wanted to get into something different. I urged the band to find solidarity in something else outside of the band, because with fucking snap a finger, we're like closing on our 40s, and we don't make baby raising money and mortgage money, and I was done with BleedingThrough the business. So when we stopped, it was like, that's what it was. It was us going, the business of BleedingThrough is not going to be the same. So let's just knock that out. Like, we do this for the love of, we will come back when we're ready to do it for that. And that's what we did. And I missed it. What I missed the most is honestly the only place in my life where I am 100% at peace with myself and everything around me is on stage.
That's so cool.
I don't have that anywhere else. I don't have that like confidence to go through life how some people go through life or seemingly go through life. You know what I mean? But on stage, like I can let myself be free, and all of us can, and that's why now we are closer than we've ever been as a band. Like we're close. Like it's just the ones that are left in the band from like the original days, like or close to original days, like we'll never stop, like ever. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. I get that feeling sometimes too, man, when I'm like, I ain't no tough guy, but when I'm in the mosh pit, dude, that's me. Like that's right.
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
That's the real me. I can act a fool, I can act stupid,
Yeah.
I can act fun, like nothing matters in here. I'm having so much fun. So I definitely feel that vibe.
Here's what I realized during COVID when we came back after COVID, because that was another thing. I had no idea if we were going to be able to come back after COVID because, people are having other kids and life is moving on. And then I'm just like, talked to Marta briefly and she's like, dude, like, I'll do this as long as you want to do it. I'm like, fuck yes, let's do it. But what a great thing we have. Like, even like going to obscure venues and watching bands with so much passion and having like the connection of people at the show that are there for similar reasons because they feel something with this music. It's music that's fueled by like pure emotion. And in a world that just is dark as fuck, how dope is it that we have like this shit to turn to? Fuck. That's what I missed.
That's cool.
That's what I missed. But that is something that we feel every day. We feel gratitude instead of just jealousy and anger and frustration, which I feel like most bands go through life feeling because it's such like a what the fuck have you done for me? It's not a lot of bands can be at peace with where they're at and really could give a fuck about anything other than like writing your music and connecting with your fan base,
Yeah. So did you feel at peace as when you guys came back together in 2018 and released Love Will Kill All? Did it feel like that when you got the whole gang back together?
It felt pretty good, and I felt like we were ready, but not as ready as we were coming off of like COVID. Yeah. I think we got on a roll with things off Love Will Kill All, then COVID happened and it killed it. So we're like, I feel like if it kept rolling on a little bit, we would have found it. But like as soon as we came back from COVID, it was like we were on it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, COVID, slowed the world down, but you guys still stayed active, or at least Rage in 2022. But now, we're moving on to bigger and better things as you've released Our Brand is Chaos, Dead But So Alive, and now the new single Path of Our Disease on the new upcoming album 9, scheduled for February 14th, Valentine's Day. What else can you tell us about your plans for the new year?
Tomorrow, or I don't know when you're going to air this, but I guess it'd be, what fucking date is it? January 9th? We're releasing another single called I Am Resistance. It is different from what Path of Our Disease is. Path of Our Disease was very industrial, kind of like brought out this industrial black metal vibe that we've always had, but we don't feel like we've ever really got shown the world. And that song was just like, we're showing the world. Marta's on this record a lot more, and that was a good introduction for her, like to have her own parts. We really want her to be more of a part of this. Like, I don't really care. Let me just dance around on stage and be a fucking sweaty mess and like let someone else like take it. You know what I mean? But the new song is kind of more like thrashy hardcore. I wrote the song kind of a long time ago. And Andrew Neufeld from Comeback Kid sings on it. And it's cool. It'll be cool.
That's very cool.
Very cool.
That's great, man. I'm super excited for it. I mean, I just wanted to say thank you so much for
you bet.
For having me here and for going over Bleeding Through. And I'm super excited for the new album 9 that comes out February 14th, Valentine's Day, man. But,
which is so goth, by the way. It's so us,
right?
Like, come on.
That is you guys, I mean, this is love, this is murder, death, it's blood, love.
It all goes into it. It's all supposed to happen. Cool. And the record was supposed to come out February 9th, which would have been cool because it's 9, but pushed back a couple days, and being on Valentine's Day, it just feels like it's supposed to be.
I think it feels right.
Cool, man.
Well, just where can people follow you on social media? Where can they check out the new album? Where can they plug all that out?
So, like, just follow. The best thing to do is just go Instagram. Instagram leads to everything else. So, Bleeding Through on Instagram. My full name, Brandan on Instagram, and Rise Above Fitness on Instagram as well. That's my gym, Huntington Beach. If you ever want to stop by just to say what's up, it happens. People do. You don't need to work out. You just come say hi to a homie. Fucking see what I've done here. And yeah, dude. 2025 is going to be a good year.
I'm super stoked for it, man. I just want to say it's amazing that you do have this, that Rise Above Fitness. Not everybody can turn in, a band into this conglomerate, this empire that you have. So that's super cool, dude.
I just never want to work for anybody else. I want my own ship, and I'm good with that.
Well, cool. I know you said that I got to run a few laps for this for this interview, so I just want to say thank you so much, Brandon. And if you like what you're watching, then hop in the Koffin. Follow us on social media at KoffinRadio. Koffin is spelled with a K, and that's all for today.